Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Countless Vlogcast. I'm your host, Justin Rich. My guest today is Jadora Parks. She is a mental health professional. She's going to talk a little bit about mental health, how to cope, how to find help during this time of need in the pandemic and virtual world. So I'm going to bring her on now. So, all right. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I have been a mental health therapist for since 2014. I am a licensed professional therapist in the state of Indiana and Kentucky. I work with individuals who have serious mental health challenges, as well as individuals who have developmental disabilities.
Okay.
So
Great. So, first question: as a mental health professional, how has going to therapy helped you personally?
Absolutely. I do think we all have a saying that every good therapist needs a therapist. I feel like going to therapy helps you to be able to have, for me personally, helps me to be able to have someone to talk to vent to, because the life challenges that everyone else is facing right now, I have definitely faced. It's a stressful time and a stressful situation, and I want to make sure that I stay as healthy as possible for not only myself but the clients that I also see.
Great. So, since you have the experience of being the professional and on the other side of going to therapy too, why would you recommend therapy to somebody that may have not be afraid to go or that haven't gone in like a couple of years?
Okay, so I also think that having someone, a non-biased opinion, a point of view, someone that you can vent to, someone that you can talk to about your problems, is definitely helpful and beneficial, especially now that we're going through this COVID crisis, racism, uh, things that are going on in the community. I feel like those stressors continue to affect not only our community, but as being African American, but other people in communities as well. And having someone to just vent to get that off your chest, to kind of work through those stressors, work through those anxieties or feelings that you may have, is definitely beneficial to go to therapy.
Great. So, what are some of the common issues you find between the black community, between men and women? Like, it may be different, but everybody has like similar. Like, if you're black, you have like similar issues. So, what are some issues you find in between the black community?
I think in the Black community, we deal with a lot of depression. We deal with a lot of trauma, whether it's familiar family trauma, it could be trauma of the past, or even the present. Of course, racism, society norms that may not be normal to us. Work challenges are definitely a big challenge for our African American community, and anxiety.
Okay, great. So, there's always a problem, but there's always a solution. So, what are some methods and mechanisms you suggest to like patients and people out there looking for like ways to deal with this?
So coping skills, you always have to find something that you enjoy. Whenever life gets too hard, I always recommend that to my clients to find balance in your life. Whether you work too much, or you have a lot of things going on at home, you always should find one thing to help you de-stress, whether that's taking a hot shower, it could be going for a walk, it could be journaling. There's, numerous things that people can do that are healthy, that will decrease their stress and their anxiety, and are beneficial to people who have depression as well. So always, that's number one, is to make sure you find a healthy balance in your life, get some coping skills that utilize those coping skills when you feel yourself getting upset, or feeling yourself getting anxious, not being able to deal with life's problems. Find those coping skills to help you, and go see a therapist. I think society has, for our community, has made it seem as though therapy is negative, that you have to be quote unquote crazy to go to therapy. But sometimes therapy is just another person that you can sit across the table from and talk to and share your feelings. And being a Black therapist and having the same struggles that some of my clients have gone through, it's easier for me to have that relationship with them, because I understand.
Great. So we talked earlier about one of the things you mentioned was racism too. So
Mhm.
how as a mental professional, how have you helped people like cope with that kind of thing? Because it happens on a daily basis. So what are some of the methods you help people out there or you suggest?
I think finding balance, uh, letting your voice be heard in a healthy manner. I think depending on what type of racism they're facing, whether it's racism at their job, which I know is prevalent, but just even racism here where I live in Louisville, Kentucky, we face those challenges and on a daily basis. And right now, we're going through a struggle with Breonna Taylor's killer not being arrested, peaceful protesting not going right, people being arrested for just exercising their right to have their voice be heard. And I see a lot of clients that come in here and they're like, well, what can I do? And I think just telling them that they are doing the right thing if they want a peaceful protest, and I support that. I definitely support a peaceful protest and letting their voice be heard. But I also don't, I always tell my clients if this is starting to affect you, where your anxiety is high or your depression, it's affecting your depression, then that you mean you need to take a step back and focus on you and building a healthy barrier for you. So as far as racism is concerned, I feel like, you have to exercise your rights. Let your voice be heard in a healthy manner, but also make sure that you're still staying healthy as well and coping with the injustice that we go through on a daily basis.
Okay, great. So this is a transition a little bit too. With all this going on, or they have this pandemic going on too. If
Hmm.
people are out there at home watching and they're wondering how can they get help too, what are some things you recommend for virtual therapy too, or like some resources?
Absolutely. So, with the COVID pandemic, we have definitely been challenged as therapists to utilize telehealth services. So, a lot of therapists around the country are utilizing telehealth, which is basically just a streaming service like you and I are doing now, where you can still talk to the clients. And see their facial expressions. So I always recommend that hey, if you want therapy and you don't know where to go, definitely check out Psychology Today because they have all the therapists in your area. You type in your zip code, you can find therapists in your area. You can even identify if you want a female therapist or a male therapist. And they come with pictures on there. So you can definitely read their background, because that's important, having a therapist that you can read their background and is going to be transparent with you. Um, and so those are ways that you can find a therapist using Psychology Today. Um,
Okay. Have you noticed a decrease in the stigma of mental health in the last few years, or has it been like similar? How would you go? How would you answer that question?
Man, that's challenging. I feel like it's generational. So, with the younger generation, there has been a decrease in the stigma of, mental health. I do still think it's very prevalent that, especially in the Black community, people have this stigma about mental health. Um, Overall, I've seen a slight decrease in people not trying to stigmatize mental health. However, I do think it's generational because older generations, they stayed away from or try to shy away from going to counseling. I think that's a generational history. However, we always have to fight to break the stigma about mental health, to get the treatment, to advocate for yourselves, and to understand that as Black people, mental health is not bad. Getting mental health treatment is not bad at all. So I do think that it's continuing to be a struggle to break that cycle.
And I think a big portion of it too is finances too. A lot of people say I can't afford it, so I really don't need it. So they have like coping mechanisms that may not help them to make it worse. So what's out there like resources to like pay too? Because I know like on this times too unemployment too. That's another thing too. So it's like three strikes and you're out too. So what are some
Absolutely.
methods for like for payment plans or like if they don't have insurance or not a job?
For people who don't have insurance, there are numerous therapies like myself who take sliding fee scales, and that's based on your income or what you're able to afford. So I think that I think that people think that therapy, if you don't have insurance, you can't afford it. But in actuality, it's really affordable. And we try to make sure that if someone needs help, then we do the best we can to make it affordable for them. So a lot of therapists will take a self payment or a sliding fee scale or set you up on a payment plan.
Great. So we talked about a little bit earlier. How has it changed the mental health industry over the last, I'll say, let's just say 3 years?
Okay. Um, Over the past 3 years, I feel like with the Black Lives Matter, a lot of people, a lot of celebrities advocating for mental health, a lot of change for change. I know that's one organization that raises money for mental health to break the stigma. I do think with a lot of those organizations and a lot of celebrities reaching out and saying, okay, hey, that I've had issues, I go see a therapist. I think that that has helped because people are utilizing their platforms to bring awareness to mental health. I think that we still have to do our best and in every way that we can to continue to promote healthy mental health treatment. I think that, again, as I was stating, it is definitely a struggle. We're always going to have some type of life stressors, whether it's, racial or COVID, because that has definitely been a change to our life and adjustment. But I still think that we have to do our best to advocate. So I definitely appreciate you having me on this platform to definitely tell people that are watching it's okay to get mental health treatment.
Yeah, that's great. It's always good to go to therapy too, but after too, that's like the part like worries me the most too. Like so, after therapy, like you go, like you feel like happy, still. But what are some like coping mechanisms people can do at home when they're not in therapy too, or like how can they carry that feeling with them after a session?
Oh, I always try to make sure that I give, once therapy ends for my clients, that they have great tools in their toolbox, so to speak, that they can go to when they need extra support, whether it's support groups that they can join, whether it's, utilizing those coping skills that we've set in place, whether it's yoga or, I'm going to set goals for myself to go to the gym to help my my mental health, my mental wellness. So I think it's just setting guidelines and parameters and keeping yourself humble and aware of what your signs are when it comes to stressors. So I always try to make sure that I have a great aftercare plan for my clients to just say, hey, if this happens, this is what you do, or this is what we've discussed. And I think that helps clients to be able, if I'm not around or they're no longer in treatment, to utilize those skills and go back and say, okay, I can do this.
Great. So I've been talking to a couple of professionals and in conversation about more like African Americans getting into the field too. So if you give advice for those young people like thinking about entering the field or those that are just entering now.
Okay. My advice is uh, always make sure that you seek your own mental health treatment. Have someone that you talk to, whether it's your supervisor or whether it's just someone, because you don't want your life troubles to come out in your sessions with your clients. I think if you are in it for the right reasons, then you're always going to have something to learn. So always, try to be open minded and learn new things, learn about new cultures, um, and just be out there to help those that need it. And even if someone doesn't need it, just to know that they have that support makes a difference in people's lives. Just to hear that, we got your back. So as a young mental health professional starting out, I would always say, give it your all, like you would do anything else. It's going to be tough. You're going to have ups and downs and challenges just like anyone else. And it can be mentally draining and emotionally draining for a therapist because, we're listening to life problems every day, all day. And we don't want to take that home. So always try to make sure that you have healthy coping skills so you won't let the problems that you hear start to affect you.
Great. So it come a tough question. So dealing with like police and mental health has been a recent topic that's come up more and more. So what are some ways that we could seek out like help like mental health without getting the police involved? So they're not like they're not like trained for that kind of thing. So what are some ways we can like get past that?
I think that police, my personal opinion, I think that police need treat help in that area. I do think that they need additional support and training when it comes to how to de-escalate a situation. And I think that that comes with our governors and congressmen to really promote that. But what do I do for my patients who are struggling with that? I always try to tell them to be calm. You have to be calm. I know that in the heat of the moment, it's emotional. I know what it feels like personally to be pulled over by a cop and not do anything wrong, and your emotions are flying, and you want to try to tell people your story and have someone listen to you. But at the end of the day, you have to remain calm, and you have to kind of set those boundaries for yourself. You can't allow yourself to get angry and overreact. But I do think that there's a big transitional gap that must happen between police, mental health, and how we go about fixing this. I think with our society and the way that it's going, police brutality, they need that training. Whether it's they have to have a mental health professional on staff, or if they have to go through training to learn how to de-escalate situations better, or have counseling themselves. I think something has to change.
Great. So I asked this question before, and many people like, what is the new normal? Because everybody has different opinions of it and different perspectives. So, what would you say the new normal is?
The new normal now, wearing a mask. I think that that is definitely the new normal. Whenever you're out in public, I always tell people, even though, yes, I understand it is hard, it is definitely difficult. I think to prevent the spread of COVID, we have to do our due diligence and wear our mask. We have to decrease the numbers of outbreaks that we're having. People are dying, people are catching COVID or not recovering. And so we have to do our part. And if that means that we have to wear a mask for months on end to make sure that these numbers decrease, I think that that's important. Also, using these coping skills, because nobody wants to be sitting in the house all day long and not doing anything. So I do feel like at some point you have to find healthy coping skills, whether it's walking in the park or, writing in your journal or spending quality time. I have a dog. So, making sure that I spend quality time with my puppy, taking my puppy on a walk or what have you. So you have to do things to promote your own mental health. And everybody's used to going out and hanging out. That's not our normal anymore, unfortunately. We have to be more aware that this COVID-19 does spread if we're not using our masks.
Great, great, great. So, advice out there for people out there unsure of their future, even their present times too. Like advice for them and the youth too. I think the youth always get overlooked too. We think they're like so strong too. If you could give advice for like just people out there struggling and the youth too, that'd be great.
Okay. My advice to people who are struggling, keep your head up. I know that's easier said than done, but I really do mean it with sincerity. Reach out. There are suicide prevention numbers. There are counseling that you can do via over the phone. There's telehealth therapists. Reach out to someone if you need help. Understand that you are not the only one going through what you're going through. That and during these difficult times, reach out to someone that can help you and understand that we, as therapists, we have your best interest at heart. We want to help you and we want to see you succeed. But don't feel like you're out there by yourself and that you're alone, because you're not. You have a whole community of mental health professionals that are willing to help you.
Great. So, if people need help or want to contact you, where can people find you at websites and social media and all that?
Absolutely. So my Facebook is Jadora Parks. You can find me on Instagram at jbriel, JBREAL 723. And you can reach out to me if you need mental health therapy in the Indiana and Kentucky area at www.crimsondovecounseling.org.
Well, thank you to Joy for coming on. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you sharing. This is a big topic we need to discuss more and more. I think the more we discuss and talk about it too, the more it becomes normal. But I
Absolutely, yes.
appreciate
We
you
have to
coming on.
continue to discuss it. I
Yeah.
think that that's very important. Have to continue talking about it. So I greatly appreciate you having me on.
And thank you though, because yeah, we especially talking to experts too, you know, because people that have been in the business, have been in the field, like I'm done with this too. So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on, and hopefully people get inspired and watch this and get inspired and seek out therapy and just talk to somebody, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching the Countless Vlogcast with my guest, mental health professional Jadora Parks. You guys can watch this again on YouTube at Countless Vlogcast. You can watch it on Facebook. Make sure you guys reach out to a doctor if you need to talk to somebody or a mental health professional.
Absolutely.
And thank you guys. Have a good Sunday, good afternoon.
You too.